Beginning our day. Sometimes I found in the meditation that the body can have this, I don't really know what to call it. It could be like a restless energy, but it's like just a sort of discomfort or a desire for the body to move, and then the breath can get kind of short. It could almost be like a type of anxiety, but then that's when I found I can use the breath to calm it down. That also happens when I'm in a state of like being tired and trying to be awake during the meditation, yet being tired, and then although the body is tired, it has this kind of buzz to it. So the body just does this. The body itself is never in a state of perfect balance. The blood is always flowing, and there's always a lot of things happening in the body. The stomach and the intestines, and there's different juices squirting around in the body all the time and moving around, so that never gets stilled. That's just a natural process which goes on and on. But then when there is that type of slight discomfort or slight agitation in the body, then it's very helpful, I found, just to sit as still as possible and then try to make the breath a little bit deeper, and that can be quite helpful in calming it, and or at least making the mind okay with it. If the mind is okay with it, that really does change the experience. The mind is the forerunner of our experience. And we have Visakha Puja coming up tomorrow, the day of the full moon of May, which is, according to legend, the Buddha's birth, the Buddha's enlightenment, and the Buddha's passing away, all occurring on the full moon of May. So that wasn't necessarily the same day, but it was the full moon each time. And this particular full moon tomorrow, it's a super moon combined with a lunar eclipse at about 2 a.m. and which is kind of interesting. That does a little bit, in my mind, having been steeped in Buddhism, like, oh, that's really an auspicious end of the sasana. The moon's disappearing on Vesak. But then we can take any of these things and we can also see it in any way we want, because the mind is the forerunner, so we can also see it as the eclipse ends and it's a new beginning. And it's like one of Apple's friends who was here the other day was looking about purchasing one of the properties up for sale in this area and noticing that the certain properties had more auspicious address numbers than others, and especially the Haveman's place had the most auspicious address number, so that's like a big deal in terms of considering whether to buy it or not. And but then there was another place that came up, and the number wasn't quite as auspicious, but the land is way better and the house is way better. So I was trying to say, well, but can't you make the number auspicious? Like, you can add the 6 to the 1, it makes it a 7. 7 is better. And then she said, yeah, well, 7 can be really, really good or really, really bad. So I thought, well, okay, well, maybe everything is like that. Everything can be really, really good or really, really bad. It's what we make out of it. And of course, Longpo Cha and the Kruba Ajahns would say that if it's auspicious, if it's a Wan Siri Mongkon, if it's an auspicious day, that's when we practice and keep the precepts, and we don't have to really rely on prophecy or external signs or numbers in order to decide whether it's going to be good or not. So we do have some say in it. We can write our own story to a certain extent, although there is a certain momentum from our past karma, but we can curb that momentum and curb it more toward the wholesome. We can always be doing that and considering finding ways to do that. There's also this fire 4 days ago, and it's really lovely to see CAL FIRE come up the driveway and then park at our exit afterward, and got this feeling of like guardians. And I know he came up the next day too and was parked in the exit of the driveway and just parked there, and got a sense he was kind of standing guard, making sure the fire was well away from the monastery. And interestingly enough, we got these new laser engraved signs made in Oakland as well, or no, sorry, not Oakland, Richmond, in a little factory warehouse of a guy who makes highly detailed toy figurines for these games that people play. And then yesterday I was emailing him because there was supposed to be an invoice coming in for that, and there was no response. And finally he responded and said there was a huge fire that broke out in the factory right next to him. And then our Thai friend Alex sent me a photo of it, and it was like this gigantic warehouse fire, and really scary looking, and huge fire. But then it didn't get his warehouse; it was just right next to it. And just thought that was kind of a strange coincidence. So glad that he was okay. And so it's hard to explain how these things happen, but we just know that they do happen, and just to know that it's good to be careful. There can be a certain protection from virtue, generosity, from sila. So leave that for reflection.